The Han family estate sprawled across the hillside like a sleeping dragon, ancient stone walls wrapped in modern glass, wealth whispering through every manicured garden path. Inside, servants moved with practiced urgency. Crystal chandeliers caught afternoon light. Wedding flowers perfumed every corridor. 300 of Seoul's elite would arrive within hours. They believed Lee Seo-jun was finally marrying the woman his mother had personally selected. Standing quietly in the courtyard, wearing a simple gray coat, her braids pulled back from her face, was Annabelle Okoye, the woman everyone believed no longer belonged there. Guests whispered as they passed her. Some pretended not to see her at all. Then the iron gates opened. Lee Seo-jun walked through. His dark suit cut sharp against the winter air. The black ink of his bloodline tattoo climbed above his collar, visible against his neck. His cold eyes swept the courtyard. They passed over the decorations. They passed over the arriving guests. They passed over his own relatives. Then they found her. Everything stopped. He walked directly to Annabelle. The atmosphere shifted like a blade being drawn. Silence consumed the mansion. From the upper balcony, Madame Han watched her son cross the courtyard toward the woman she had spent 3 years trying to erase from his life. Her fingers tightened on the railing. Her perfect plan may have already failed. Before we continue, tell us where you're watching from and share your thoughts about this opening in the comments. We'd love to hear your perspective and connect with viewers from around the world. And if you enjoy emotional stories like this, please like, share, and subscribe for more unforgettable Afro-Korean romance dramas. 3 years earlier, the marriage certificate was signed in a small office in Lagos. No photographers, no guests, no announcement. Just Lee Seo-jun in a white linen shirt, his wrist tattooed dark against his skin as he signed his name in Korean characters. And Annabelle Okoye, wearing her late mother's gold earrings, her hand steady as she added her signature beside his. "Yours certain?" the registrar asked, looking between them. "This is legally binding across both nations." Seo-jun didn't look at the man. His eyes remained fixed on Annabelle. "I have never been more certain of anything." Later that evening, they stood on the balcony of his private residence overlooking Victoria Island. Lagos glittered beneath them like scattered diamonds. "Your mother will never accept this," Annabelle said quietly. Seo-jun's jaw tightened. The city lights reflected in his cold eyes. "My mother doesn't choose who I love. She controls your public image, your business partnerships, She controls nothing that matters." He turned to face her fully. His hand rose slowly, fingertips brushing her jaw with devastating gentleness. "You are my wife, Annabelle. Legally, spiritually, completely." His voice dropped lower. "I will tell the world when you're ready. Not before, not after, when you choose." Her eyes searched his face. "And if I'm never ready, then I will love you in silence for the rest of my life." She wanted to believe him. God help her. She wanted to believe him. 6 months later, Madame Han discovered the truth. Not through confession, through surveillance. She had been monitoring her son's private accounts for years, not out of distrust, she told herself, but out of protection. The Han family had enemies. Their mafia financial empire stretched across 3 continents. Vigilance was survival. But when her investigator placed the marriage certificate on her desk, when she saw the Nigerian government seal, when she read her son's signature beside an African woman's name, something inside her turned to ice. The confrontation happened in Seoul. Seo-jun stood in his mother's private study, his expression unreadable. Madame Han sat behind her desk like a queen holding court. "You married her in secret," she said, her voice trembling with controlled fury, like a criminal hiding evidence. "I married her privately," he corrected calmly, "because I knew you would react exactly like this. She is not suitable. She is my wife. She is African." The word hung in the air like poison. Seo-jun's eyes went colder than his mother had ever seen them. "Say that again," he said softly. "I want to make sure I heard you correctly." Madame Han's composure cracked slightly. She had raised this man. She had watched him grow from a silent child into a silent king. She knew, perhaps better than anyone, how dangerous his quietness could become. But she was his mother, and she had sacrificed too much to watch him throw away his legacy. The Han bloodline has survived for 12 generations, she said carefully. We have alliances with the most powerful families in Korea, Japan, and China. Our business empire depends on me. Seo-jun stepped closer. I built half of what we own. I eliminated the threats father couldn't handle. I am the reason foreign governments fear our name. His voice never rose. It didn't need to. And I chose her. Madam Han changed tactics. She couldn't forbid the marriage. Her son was too powerful, too independent, too willing to walk away from everything if she pushed too hard. So she smiled. She bowed her head gracefully. Forgive me, she said softly. I spoke from fear, not wisdom. If she makes you happy, then I will learn to accept her. Seo-jun studied his mother's face for a long moment. He saw the performance. He recognized the calculation behind her gentle words. But he also loved her, despite everything. Thank you, Mother. He turned and left. Madam Han waited until his footsteps faded completely. Then she picked up her phone. Begin surveillance on Annabelle Okoye, she said quietly. I want to know everything. Every weakness. Every secret. Every person she has ever loved. She would not destroy this woman with force. She would destroy her with patience. 2 years later, the pressure was invisible but relentless. Annabelle felt it in the way Seo-jun's family gatherings never included her. She felt it in the business dinners where her seat was somehow always forgotten. She felt it in the whispered conversations that stopped when she entered rooms. You're imagining things, she told herself. But she wasn't. Meanwhile, Madam Han worked with surgical precision. She cultivated relationships with Annabelle's professional contacts. She planted seeds of doubt with architecture firms across Asia. She ensured that every major project Annabelle pursued in Korea mysteriously fell through. The Asian market isn't ready for her aesthetic, one developer told another. Her designs are too foreign, a hotel chain executive remarked. Perhaps she should focus on African projects instead. The rejections accumulated. Annabelle's confidence began to crack. One evening in Seoul, Seo-jun found her standing by the window of their penthouse, staring at the city lights. Her reflection looked tired, defeated. What's wrong? He asked quietly. Nothing. He moved closer. His hand found her waist, gentle, possessive, warm. Tell me. She was silent for a long moment. I lost another contract today, she finally admitted. That's 7 in the past 4 months. All in Korea. All with companies that have connections to your family. Seo-jun went very still. Which companies? It doesn't matter. It matters to me. She turned to face him. Her eyes were bright with unshed tears. Your mother is never going to accept me, Seo-jun. I see it now. I see it clearly. And I can't, her voice broke. I can't keep pretending that love is enough to survive this. His hands rose to cup her face. Love is enough. Is it? A tear escaped down her cheek. Is it enough when your own family treats me like a stain on your legacy? Is it enough when I can't build a career in your country because doors keep closing in my face? Is it enough when I feel like I'm slowly disappearing? He had no answer. For the first time in their marriage, Lee Seo-jun had no answer. The next morning, he confronted his mother again. This time, there was no pretense of diplomacy. You're sabotaging her career, he said flatly. Madam Han sipped her tea calmly. I have no idea what you're referring to. The Hyundai Development Project, the Schiller Hotel renovation, the Samsung Cultural Center. His voice cut like ice. All of them rejected her proposals within days of submission. All of them have board members who owe favors to our family. Coincidence? Mother. She set down her teacup. You want the truth? Fine. Her eyes met his without flinching. Yes, I used my influence. But not to destroy her, to protect you. From what? From a woman who will never understand our world. From a marriage that will produce children who belong nowhere. From a legacy that will crumble because you chose passion over duty. Seo-jun's hands clenched at his sides. My children will belong wherever I say they belong. My legacy is mine to define. And Annabelle understands more about loyalty and sacrifice than you ever will. She is making you weak. She is the only thing that makes me human. He turned to leave. If you continue this, he said quietly, I will move our headquarters to Lagos. I will transfer every asset I control out of Korea, and I will never speak to you again. The door closed behind him. Madam Hen sat alone in her study for a long time. Her son's words echoed in her mind. But she did not change her plans. She simply became more careful. 1 year later, Annabelle made her decision alone. She didn't tell Seo-jun. She couldn't bear to see his face when she said the words. Instead, she wrote him a letter. My love, I have tried for 3 years to become someone your world could accept. I have smiled through rejection. I have stood tall through humiliation. I have loved you through every silence. But I am disappearing, Seo-jun. The woman you married is fading into someone I don't recognize. Someone who flinches at the sound of Korean whispers. Someone who has forgotten how to dream. I am returning to Nigeria. Not because I stopped loving you. I could never stop loving you. But because I love myself enough to survive. Please don't follow me. If your mother ever accepts who I am, who we are, then find me. Until then, I release you from our secret. Marry someone your family can love. Build the legacy they demand. Be happy. I will love you from a distance. Always. Annabelle. She left the letter on his pillow. She took only one suitcase. She walked out of their Seoul penthouse at 3 a.m. And she didn't look back. When Seo-jun found the letter, he read it 3 times. His face remained completely still. His hands did not tremble. His breathing did not change. But something behind his eyes shattered. He called her phone. No answer. He tracked her flight. Already departed. He contacted his people in Lagos. Find her, he said. But don't approach. Don't speak to her. Just make sure she's safe. Sir, should we? Just keep her safe. He hung up. Then he sat alone in their empty penthouse, her letters still clutched in his hand. For the first time since childhood, Lee Seo-jun wept. 6 months after Annabelle left, Madam Hen made her move. She had been preparing for this moment. Patiently, meticulously, perfectly. Her son had grown quieter, colder, more brutal in his business dealings. The warmth she had always feared in him, the weakness, she called it, had finally vanished. He was becoming the man she had always wanted him to be. Now she simply needed to complete the transformation. The woman's name was Yoona Park, 28 years old, daughter of the Park shipping dynasty, educated at Oxford and Seoul National University. Graceful, obedient, perfectly traditional. She had been raised her entire life for exactly this purpose, to marry into a powerful family and produce heirs who would cement alliances. She's perfect, Madam Han told her son over dinner. Her family controls 40% of Asian maritime shipping. A union between our houses would make us untouchable. Seo-jun didn't look up from his plate. I'm not interested. You haven't even met her. I don't need to meet her. Seo-jun. Madam Han's voice hardened. That woman is gone. She left you. She chose to abandon everything you built together. For the first time, he looked up. His eyes were so cold that his mother involuntarily drew back. She didn't abandon me. She was driven away. And we both know who's responsible. I did what was necessary to protect. If you mention protection one more time, Mother, I will leave this table and not return. Silence. Madam Hen smoothed her napkin carefully. Meet her once, she said softly. That's all I ask. One dinner. If you feel nothing, I will never mention it again. Seo-jun stared at her for a long moment. He knew it was a manipulation. He knew his mother never stopped at one dinner. But he was tired. Tired of fighting. Tired of feeling. Tired of waking up every morning in a bed that still smelled faintly of Annabelle's perfume. One dinner, he said flatly. Then this ends. The dinner took place at the Han family estate. Yoona Park arrived wearing a traditional hanbok in pale blue silk. She was undeniably beautiful. Elegant posture. Porcelain skin. Perfect manners. She bowed deeply to Seo-jun when they were introduced. It's an honor to meet you, Chairman Lee. He nodded once. Said nothing. Throughout the meal, Yoona tried her best. She discussed art, literature, business. She laughed at Madam Han's jokes. She complimented the wine selection. She did everything a perfect prospective bride should do. Seo-jun responded with monosyllables. His eyes remained fixed on his plate. His mind was elsewhere. Lagos. Annabelle. The way she laughed when he said something unexpectedly tender. The way she challenged him when he became too cold. The way she made him feel human in a world that demanded he be a machine. Chairman Lee. He blinked. Yuna was looking at him expectantly. I'm sorry, he said flatly. What did you say? I asked if you enjoy architecture. I heard you commissioned a project in Dubai recently. Architecture. The word hit him like a blade. Annabelle was an architect. The project in Dubai had been designed for her. A surprise gift he never got to give. The dinner is over, he said abruptly. He stood. Seo-jun, his mother began. Thank you for coming, Miss Park. I'm sure you will find a suitable match elsewhere. He left without looking back. Madam had apologized profusely to Yuna. He's been under tremendous pressure lately. Please forgive his rudeness. But Yuna Park was not offended. She was intrigued. No man had ever dismissed her so completely. No man had ever looked through her as if she didn't exist. Lee Seo-jun wasn't cold because he lacked emotion. He was cold because he was completely, devastatingly in love with someone else. And Yuna Park had been raised to see opportunities where others saw obstacles. I understand, she said sweetly. Perhaps we could try again another time. Madam Han's eyes lit up. You would be willing? Of course. Yuna smiled. The best things in life are worth pursuing. Over the following months, Madam Han orchestrated encounter after encounter. Business meetings where Yuna happened to be present. Charity galas where she was seated beside Seo-jun. Family gatherings where she charmed his relatives with her perfect manners. The whispers began. Such a lovely match. Finally, a proper Korean wife. The Han family bloodline will be preserved. Meanwhile, in Lagos, Annabelle heard nothing. She had blocked Seo-jun's number. She had told her brother, Emeka, to reject any contact from Korean sources. She threw herself into her work, designing cultural centers across West Africa, restoring historic buildings, creating spaces that celebrated African heritage. She smiled in public. She laughed with clients. She attended her father's Sunday dinners and pretended everything was fine. But at night, she lay awake in her childhood bedroom and stared at the ceiling and tried not to think about the man who still owned her heart. Her father noticed. Chief Okoye had raised 3 children after losing his wife to illness. He knew grief when he saw it. You've been home for almost a year, he said gently one evening. And you still look at your phone as if you're waiting for someone to call. Annabelle's hands stilled over her dinner. I'm not waiting for anyone, Papa. My daughter. He reached across the table to cover her hand with his. You forget that I watched you grow. I know when you're lying to me. And I know when you're lying to yourself. Her eyes filled with tears. He was supposed to fight for me, she whispered. He promised he would never let me go. But I've been here for 10 months, and he hasn't come. He hasn't called. He hasn't. You blocked his number. Because I wanted him to find another way. I wanted him to prove that I mattered more than his family's approval. Chief Okoye was silent for a long moment. And if he tried, he said carefully, and Emeka turned him away as you instructed, would you know? Annabelle's blood ran cold. What are you saying? Her father's expression was grave. Your brother received visitors 3 months ago. Korean men in expensive suits. They asked to speak with you. Emeka sent them away. What? He was protecting you, as you asked him to. Annabelle pushed back from the table. Her heart was pounding. Who were they? What did they say? I don't know. But perhaps. Her father's eyes held hers. Perhaps you should ask your brother. The confrontation happened that same night. Emeka was working late at his office in Victoria Island when Annabelle burst through his door. Who came to see me? She demanded. 3 months ago. Korean men. Who were they? Emeka's jaw tightened. I did what you asked, Anna. You said you didn't want any contact from. Who were they? Her brother exhaled slowly. His people. Lee Seo-jun's people. Annabelle's legs went weak. She grabbed the edge of his desk for support. What did they say? They wanted to arrange a meeting. They said their chairman needed to speak with you urgently. They said it was about your future. And you sent them away. You told me to send them away. Emeka stood, his own frustration boiling over. You came home crying, Anna. You told me that family had broken your spirit. You made me promise to protect you from them. I made you promise to protect me from his mother, not from him. How was I supposed to know the difference? Silence crashed between them. Annabelle pressed her hands to her face. 3 months. For 3 months, Seo-jun had been trying to reach her, and she hadn't known. Later that night, she unblocked his number. She stayed at her phone for 20 minutes. Then she typed a single message. I'm still here. She hit send before she could change her mind. In Seoul, it was 4 a.m. when Seo-jun's phone buzzed. He had been unable to sleep. Again, he reached for the device automatically, expecting another business notification. Instead, he saw 3 words that stopped his heart. I'm still here. His hands trembled. For the first time in months, his hands actually trembled. He typed back immediately. So am I. The conversation continued until dawn. Not about reconciliation. Not about the future. Just existence. How are you? Surviving. You? The same. Your mother? Still determined to destroy everything I love. I heard she found someone for you. She found someone for herself. I never agreed to anything. The photos in the Korean press say otherwise. The Korean press prints whatever my mother pays them to print. A long pause. Then, I miss you, Seo-jun. His response was instant. I never stopped missing you. Not for a single moment. 1 week later, Madam Han made her fatal mistake. Without consulting her son, she announced his engagement to Yoona Park. The news exploded across Korean media. Headlines celebrated the union of 2 great dynasties. Business analysts predicted unprecedented market growth. Society columnists praised Madam Han's brilliant matchmaking. Everyone believed it was official. Everyone except Lee Seo-jun. He discovered the announcement while in a board meeting. His phone buzzed with congratulatory messages. He excused himself. He read the headlines. He saw the photos, old images of him and Yoona at various events, reframed as romantic. He saw his mother's quotes about traditional values and continuing the Han legacy. His expression didn't change, but something inside him turned to pure, crystalline rage. He called Annabelle immediately. She answered on the first ring. I saw the news. It's not real. Seo-jun. It's not real. I never proposed. I never agreed. My mother fabricated everything. Silence on the line. Anna, please, say something. Her voice was small. What do you want me to say? Say you believe me. I want to believe you. But the entire world is celebrating your engagement right now. And I'm sitting here in Lagos, looking at photos of you and that woman, and I don't know. Come to Seoul. She went quiet. Come to Seoul, he repeated. Tomorrow, I'll send my plane, and I will prove to you, to everyone, that none of this is real. Your mother will never allow. My mother's allowance ended the moment she decided to announce my life without my consent. His voice dropped lower. I should have done this 3 years ago. I should have stood in front of the world and declared you as my wife the day we signed that certificate. But I was a coward. I thought I could protect you by keeping you hidden. I thought silence was safety. He took a breath. I was wrong. Silence nearly destroyed us both. Annabelle's tears flowed freely now. What are you saying? I'm saying come home. Anna, come home to me, and let me finally show the world who you really are. She said yes. The Han family estate. Wedding preparations were underway. Not for Lee Seo-jun and Yoona Park. Not officially. But Madam Han had invited 300 guests for what she called a pre-engagement celebration. She believed her son would eventually accept the inevitable. She believed he would choose duty over the memory of a woman who had abandoned him. She believed wrong. The morning of the celebration, Annabelle's plane landed at Incheon International Airport. A black car was waiting. Inside sat a man she didn't recognize. Young, professional, wearing the subtle lapel pin that marked him as one of Seo-jun's personal staff. Mrs. Lee, he said respectfully. Welcome home. She hadn't been called that in 3 years. Her heart clenched. Thank you. The drive to the Han estate took 40 minutes. Annabelle watched Seoul pass by her window, the city she had tried so hard to love, the city that had never loved her back. She was wearing a simple gray coat over a dress she had chosen carefully, elegant but understated. African jewelry at her ears and wrists, her mother's gold earrings, her grandmother's beaded bracelet. She would not hide who she was. Not anymore. They arrived at the estate just as guests were beginning to gather. Annabelle stepped out of the car. The courtyard was filled with Korea's elite, politicians, business leaders, celebrities, old money families who had known the hands for generations. They all stared. Whispers erupted immediately. Isn't that the African woman? I thought she left years ago. What is she doing here? Annabelle stood in the center of the courtyard, alone, surrounded by 300 people who viewed her as an outsider. She kept her spine straight. She kept her eyes forward. She waited. From the upper balcony, Madame Han saw her. Her teacup slipped from her fingers. It shattered on the marble floor. No, she whispered. No, no, no. At that moment, the iron gates opened once more. Lee Seo-jun walked through. He was wearing a dark tailored suit. His bloodline tattoo was visible at his neck, climbing above his collar like a declaration of power. His eyes swept the courtyard. They passed over the decorations. They passed over the arriving guests. They passed over Yuna Park, who was standing near the entrance in a silk dress that had cost more than most people's annual salary. His eyes found Annabelle, and stayed. The entire courtyard fell silent. Seo-jun walked directly toward her. His footsteps echoed in the sudden quiet. He passed his relatives without acknowledgement. He passed business partners who called his name. He passed his own mother's representative, who tried to intercept him. He stopped directly in front of Annabelle. For a long moment, they simply looked at each other. 3 years of separation. 3 years of silence. 3 years of longing. All of it burned between them in that single moment. Then Lee Seo-jun, the Black Crown heir, the man who controlled an empire, the man who never showed emotion in public, reached out his hand, and Annabelle took it. On the balcony above, Madame Han gripped the railing so hard her knuckles turned white. Her perfect plan had just backfired spectacularly. The celebration continued, but everything had changed. Guests whispered furiously behind their hands. Yuna Park's face had gone pale as porcelain. Her father, a powerful shipping magnate, was already making phone calls. And in the center of it all, Lee Seo-jun stood with Annabelle's hand in his, as if daring anyone to challenge him. His mother descended from the balcony. Her face was composed. Her smile was perfect. Only her eyes betrayed the fury beneath. Seo-jun, she said smoothly. What a surprise. I didn't realize you were bringing a guest. She's not a guest. Then what is she? Seo-jun's fingers tightened almost imperceptibly around Annabelle's. She is my wife. The words fell like thunder. Gasps erupted across the courtyard. Yuna Park's father stopped mid-phone call. 300 of Korea's most powerful people stared in absolute shock. Madame Han's smile didn't waver, but something behind her eyes cracked. That's impossible, she said quietly. There's no record of any marriage. There is. Seo-jun reached into his jacket and produced a folded document. A legal marriage certificate, registered in Nigeria and recognized internationally. Dated 3 years ago. Signed by both of us. He handed it to his mother. She unfolded it with trembling hands. Read her son's signature. Read Annabelle's name beside it. And for the first time in her life, Madame Han had absolutely nothing to say. Yuna Park stepped forward. Her voice was steady, but her eyes burned with humiliation. You let me believe, she stopped. Composed herself. You let your mother announce our engagement. You let the press publish photos. You let me prepare for. I let nothing. Seo-jun's voice was ice. My mother acted without my consent. I told her repeatedly that I had no interest in an arranged marriage. She chose not to listen. So I was just a pawn. You were a weapon she tried to use against my real wife. I'm sorry you were caught in the middle, but I won't apologize for loving someone else. Yuna's jaw tightened. She looked at Annabelle, really looked at her for the first time. Saw the elegant posture, the quiet dignity, the steady gaze that held no triumph, no gloating, no malice. Just sadness. And something in Yuna softened, just slightly. I hope she's worth it, she said quietly. Then she turned and walked away. Madame Han finally found her voice. You've destroyed everything, she hissed. 3 years of planning. 3 years of... 3 years of torturing my wife. Seo-jun stepped closer to his mother, his voice dropping to a dangerous whisper. 3 years of sabotaging her career. 3 years of spreading whispers and closing doors and making her feel like she didn't belong. His tattoos seemed to darken against his skin, a visual reminder of the power that flowed through his veins. I know everything, Mother. Every rejected contract. Every blocked opportunity. Every whisper you paid someone to spread. Madame Han's composure finally cracked. I did it to protect you. To protect our family. To protect. You did it because you couldn't control me any other way. His voice was soft but devastating. And you failed. You failed 3 years ago when I married her anyway. You failed 6 months ago when she left and I still refused to move on. And you failed today when I chose her in front of everyone who matters. Tears glistened in his mother's eyes. Seo-jun, I love you, Mother. I always will. But I will never forgive this. He paused. And I will never let you hurt her again. He turned back to Annabelle, extended his hand once more. Let's go home. She took it without hesitation. They walked together toward the gates. 300 people watched in stunned silence. And Madame Han, the most powerful woman in Korean society, stood alone in her courtyard, defeated. That evening, Seoul's media exploded. Headlines screamed about secret marriages and international scandal. The Han family's carefully cultivated image began to crack. Business partners demanded explanations. Old allies questioned whether the family could be trusted. And through it all, Lee Seo-jun said nothing. He had taken Annabelle to his private penthouse, the one his mother didn't know existed, and they had remained there, together, as the storm raged outside. Inside the penthouse, Annabelle sat by the window, watching the city lights blur through her tears. I didn't want this, she whispered. I didn't want to destroy your family. Seo-jun knelt before her. His hands cupped her face with devastating gentleness. You destroyed nothing. She built her own destruction, brick by brick, for 3 years. But the company, your reputation, will survive. They always do. His thumb brushed away a tear. The only thing I cannot survive is losing you again. His forehead pressed against hers. I'm sorry, Anna. I'm sorry I didn't fight harder 3 years ago. I'm sorry I let my mother's shadow fall over you. I'm sorry I ever made you feel like you had to choose between loving me and surviving. Her hands rose to cover his. You came for me. When I blocked your number and told my brother to send your people away, you still tried. I never stopped trying. I would have come to Lagos myself. But, he hesitated. But what? I was afraid. His voice cracked. Just barely. Just enough. I was afraid you would tell me to leave. I was afraid you had already moved on. I was afraid that if I showed up uninvited, I would be forcing myself into a life you no longer wanted me in. Annabelle's tears fell faster. I wanted you in my life every single day. Even when I told myself I didn't. Even when I pretended I was moving on. Even when I dated other men just to feel something. His entire body went still. What man? She saw the flash in his eyes. Possessive, dangerous, vulnerable all at once. No one important. I went on a few dates. It was my brother's idea. He thought it would help me forget. Did it? No. She shook her head. They were all wrong. Too loud or too quiet. Too eager or too distant. None of them were you. The tension in his shoulders slowly released. Good, he said softly. She almost laughed. Good. I've never claimed to be a fair man, Anna. His eyes held hers. The thought of you with anyone else. He didn't finish the sentence. He didn't need to. She understood jealousy. She had felt it every time she saw a photo of him with Unipark. Later that night, they lay together in the darkness, not touching, not yet, just existing in the same space for the first time in years. What happens now? She asked quietly. I make this right. Publicly. Permanently. How? I'll hold a press conference tomorrow. Announce our marriage officially. Introduce you as my wife to the world. Your mother will either accept reality or lose her son forever. His voice hardened. I should have made this choice years ago. I was trying to protect both of you. I thought I could find a middle ground. But there is no middle ground when it comes to love. Annabelle turned to look at him. His profile was sharp against the window lights. Elegant, dangerous, beautiful. And after the press conference, he turned to meet her eyes. We live together, wherever you want. Lagos, Seoul, Dubai. I don't care. I've spent 3 years learning that every empire I build means nothing if you're not beside me. Her heart ached. Seo-jun, I love you. Annabelle. The words came out raw, unguarded, completely unlike his usual controlled speech. I loved you before my mother interfered. I loved you when you left. I loved you every moment of these past 3 years. And I will love you until my last breath, whether you stay or go, whether you forgive me or not. She reached across the space between them. Her fingers found his cheek. I never stopped loving you either. But outside the penthouse, the world was watching, and not everyone wanted this love story to succeed. Meanwhile, in the shadows, a man named Director Kang sat in a darkened office, watching news coverage of the Han family scandal. He was 53 years old, silver-haired, impeccably dressed. He had been Lee Seo-jun's most trusted business advisor for 15 years. He had also been secretly working against him for the last 5. Director Kang smiled as he watched the footage of Seo-jun walking through the courtyard toward Annabelle. Perfect, he murmured. The boy is finally vulnerable. He picked up his phone. Dial the number. It's time, he said. While he's distracted with his wife, we move. Have the documents ready by morning. He hung up, leaned back in his chair. Director Kang had been patient. He had waited years for Lee Seo-jun to make a mistake, to show weakness, to let his guard down, to prioritize anything above the empire. Now that moment had finally arrived. The next morning, Lee Seo-jun prepared for his press conference. He stood before a mirror in his penthouse, adjusting his tie. His bloodline tattoo was deliberately visible at his wrist, a reminder to everyone watching that he was not just a businessman. He was a king. Annabelle appeared behind him. She was wearing a dress of deep burgundy, elegant, warm, undeniably African in its cut and styling. You look beautiful, he said quietly. I look terrified. So do I. He turned to face her. But we do this together. Always together. She nodded, took his hand, and they walked out to face the world. The press conference was held in the Han Corporation's main auditorium. Hundreds of journalists filled the seats. Cameras flashed continuously. Questions shouted over each other. Lee Seo-jun stood at the podium, Annabelle beside him, and waited for silence. It took nearly 3 minutes. When he finally spoke, his voice cut through the room like a blade. 3 years ago, I married the woman standing beside me. Her name is Annabelle Okoye Lee. She is Nigerian by birth, Korean by marriage, and the only person I have ever loved. The room erupted. He waited. Continued. My mother recently announced an engagement that was never real and never authorized. I am here today to correct that lie. His eyes swept the room. There will be no engagement to Unipark. There will be no arranged marriage to satisfy business alliances. There will only be my wife, my real wife, and our future together. More shouting. More questions. He raised a hand for silence. One more thing. His voice dropped lower, carrying a dangerous edge. Anyone who attempts to use my personal life to undermine my business or threaten my family will discover exactly why they call me the Black Crown A. His tattoo seemed to pulse in the camera lights. That is all. He stepped back from the podium, took Annabelle's hand, and they walked out together, leaving chaos in their wake. But as they exited the auditorium, Seo-jun's phone buzzed. He glanced at the screen. Froze. The message was from Director Kang. Check your company's stock price. Then check the news. Then realize that while you were playing house with your African wife, I took everything. Seo-jun's blood ran cold. What has Director Kang done? How will Seo-jun protect both his empire and his wife? And when Madam Han discovers she's not the only one who wanted to destroy her son, whose side will she ultimately choose? Stay tuned for the stunning conclusion. The car ride back to the penthouse was silent. Seo-jun stayed at his phone screen, scrolling through cascading notifications. Stock prices plummeting. Emergency board meetings called. International partners demanding explanations. His jaw was tight, his knuckles white around the device. Annabelle watched him carefully. What's happening? He didn't answer immediately. His mind was racing through possibilities, calculating damage, identifying threats. Seo-jun. Her hand found his arm. Talk to me. Director Kang. The name came out like poison. He's been with me for 15 years. I trusted him with everything. And he just tried to destroy me. At the penthouse, Seo-jun's security team was already assembled. 6 men in dark suits, all bearing the subtle markers of his underground organization. They bowed as he entered. Report, he commanded. The lead officer, a man named Park Ji-hoon, stepped forward. Sir, Director Kang initiated a coordinated attack approximately 2 hours ago. He transferred falsified documents to regulatory authorities suggesting embezzlement within the Han Corporation. Simultaneously, he leaked fabricated evidence to 3 major news outlets. What evidence? Financial records showing illegal fund transfers to offshore accounts, all traced back to your personal authorization codes. Annabelle's breath caught. But those are fake, she said. They have to be fake. They are. Park Ji-hoon nodded grimly. But they are expertly crafted. It will take weeks, possibly months, to prove their forgeries. In the meantime, the damage to public perception will be catastrophic. Seo-jun stood motionless. His face revealed nothing. But Annabelle saw the storm brewing behind his eyes. Where's Kang now? He asked quietly. He left Korea this morning. Private jet to Singapore. From there, we lost his trail. Find him. Sir, I don't care how long it takes or how much it costs. Seo-jun's voice dropped to a deadly whisper. Find him, and bring him to me. The officers bowed and departed. Alone with Annabelle, Seo-jun finally allowed his composure to crack, just slightly. He sank onto the couch, pressed his palms against his eyes. I should have seen this coming, he murmured. I was so focused on you, on us, that I let my guard down. Annabelle sat beside him. This isn't your fault, isn't it? He lowered his hands. His eyes were haunted. I've spent my entire adult life building walls around myself, trusting no one completely, verifying everything twice. And the one moment I let myself be human, the one moment I prioritized love over vigilance. Stop. Her voice was firm. He looked at her, startled. You are not a machine, Seo-jun. You're allowed to love someone. You're allowed to fight for your marriage. You're allowed to be distracted by your own happiness. Her hand cupped his cheek. What happened today isn't because you loved me. It's because a man you trusted chose to betray you. The result is the same. No, the result is that we face this together. Her eyes held his. I'm not going anywhere. Not this time. Whatever comes next, we handle it as partners. He stared at her for a long moment. Then his hand rose to cover hers. I don't deserve you. Probably not. A small smile flickered across her lips. But you're stuck with me anyway. The next morning, Madame had arrived at the penthouse unannounced. The security team tried to stop her. She walked past them as if they didn't exist. Where's my son? Seo-jun emerged from his study, his expression guarded. Mother, I didn't expect to see you. I came as soon as I heard about Director Kang. Her eyes swept the room, landing briefly on Annabelle before returning to her son. We need to talk. Privately. Anything you have to say, you can say in front of my wife. The word hung in the air. Wife. Madame Han's jaw tightened, but she didn't argue. Fine. She moved deeper into the room, her posture rigid with controlled tension. Director Kang has been working against you for 5 years. I didn't know the full extent until this morning, but I had suspicions. Seo-jun went very still. You had suspicions. For 5 years. And you said nothing. I had no proof. Only instinct. And you, she hesitated. You trusted him completely. I thought I was being paranoid. You were paranoid enough to sabotage my wife's career for 3 years, but not paranoid enough to investigate a man who was actively betraying me. The accusation landed like a slap. Madame Han's composure flickered. I made mistakes. I know that now. Her voice was quieter than Annabelle had ever heard it. But this situation is bigger than our personal conflicts. Director Kang isn't acting alone. He is backing from the Chen family in Hong Kong. Seo Jun's expression hardened further. The Chens? Why would they? Because you rejected their daughter 8 years ago. Because you've consistently blocked their expansion into Korean markets. Because they've been waiting for an opportunity to destroy you. And Director Kang just gave them one. Silence filled the room. Annabelle looked between mother and son, seeing the weight of history pressing down on both of them. What do you propose? Seo Jun finally asked. An alliance. Madam Han met his eyes directly. Temporary. Focused. I still have connections you don't. Old families, traditional power structures that respect my influence. Combined with your resources, we can fight back. And what do you want in return? Nothing. She paused. Except, perhaps, a chance to prove that I'm not the monster you believe me to be. Her gaze flickered to Annabelle. For a moment, just a moment, something almost human showed in her eyes. Then it was gone. I will never love her as you do, Madam Han said quietly. But I am capable of learning to accept what I cannot change. If you give me the opportunity. Seo Jun looked at Annabelle. She gave a small, almost imperceptible nod. One chance, he said to his mother. Betray me again, and no blood connection will protect you. Madam Han inclined her head. Understood. 3 days later, while Seo Jun worked to stabilize his empire, Annabelle found herself unexpectedly alone. He had meetings that ran until midnight, calls that couldn't be interrupted, crises that demanded his complete attention. She understood. She supported him. But the penthouse felt emptier than ever. One afternoon, she received a message from an old colleague, Daniel Mensah, a Ghanaian architect she had worked with years ago in Dubai. Heard you're back in Seoul. Dinner? For old time's sake? She hesitated. Daniel had always been kind to her. Professional. Respectful. Perhaps too respectful. There had been moments, years ago, when she suspected his interest went beyond professional admiration. But she was lonely, and dinner with an old friend seemed harmless enough. Sure, tomorrow evening. The restaurant was upscale but discreet. Daniel was already waiting when she arrived. He stood as she approached, tall, well-dressed, with warm eyes and an easy smile. Annabelle. He kissed both her cheeks in the European fashion. You look more beautiful than I remembered. And you look more successful. He laughed. Dubai has been kind to me. Though I hear your work in Lagos has been remarkable. The cultural center you designed last year was featured in Architectural Digest. You saw that. I follow your career. His eyes held hers a moment too long. I always have. The dinner was pleasant. They talk about architecture, about Africa's growing design renaissance, about mutual colleagues and shared memories. But as the evening progressed, Daniel's attention became more focused, more personal. I was surprised when you left Dubai so suddenly, he said, swirling wine in his glass. One day you were there, the next you were gone. No explanation, no forwarding address. Annabelle's smile faltered. It was complicated. A man. She didn't answer. I always suspected. Daniel leaned forward slightly. Someone powerful, I assumed. Someone who didn't deserve you. Daniel. I'm not judging, Annabelle. I'm just saying, whoever he was a fool to let you go. His hand moved across the table, covering hers. Some of us would never make that mistake. She withdrew her hand gently. I'm married, Daniel. His eyebrows rose. Married? I didn't know. There's no ring. She glanced at her bay finger. She had stopped wearing her wedding band during the separation and hadn't yet put it back. It's recent. Complicated. She shook her head. It doesn't matter. The point is, I'm not available, and I should have made that clear before accepting this dinner. Daniel studied her for a long moment. Does he make you happy? He makes me feel alive. That's not the same thing. For me, it is. When she returned to the penthouse that night, Seo Jun was waiting. He sat in the darkened living room, still wearing his suit from the day's meetings. His tattoo was visible at his wrist, catching the dim light. You had dinner with Daniel Mensah. It wasn't a question. Annabelle stopped in the doorway. You're having me watched. I'm having everyone watched. It's not personal. It feels personal. He touched your hand. She stayed at him. Are you serious right now? I'm always serious. He rose slowly, moving toward her with predatory grace. He touched your hand. He leaned across the table. He looked at you like he was imagining. Stop. She held up a hand. Whatever you're imagining, stop. Daniel is an old colleague. We had dinner. That's all. He wants more. Maybe. But I don't. She stepped closer, meeting his intensity with her own. I chose you, Seo-jun, 3 years ago and again 3 days ago. I will keep choosing you every day for the rest of my life. But you cannot let jealousy turn you into someone I don't recognize. His jaw worked silently. The tension between them crackled like electricity. I don't share, he said finally. You don't have to, but you do have to trust me. A long pause. Then his shoulders dropped, just slightly. I'm sorry. The words came out rough, unfamiliar on his tongue. I'm not accustomed to feeling this way. This vulnerable. This out of control. Annabelle closed the distance between them. Her hand pressed flat against his chest. Neither am I. But we figure it out together. That's what marriage means. His arms wrapped around her. Tight, possessive, desperate. Don't leave again, he whispered against her hair. Whatever happens, whatever I do wrong, don't leave. I won't. Promise me. I promise. Meanwhile, Yuna Park sat alone in her family's estate, replaying the events of the failed celebration. Humiliation burned in her chest. She had been used, discarded, made a fool of in front of 300 people. Her father's rage had been volcanic. Her mother's disappointment suffocating. The entire Park family had become a laughingstock overnight. But as days passed, Yuna found herself thinking less about her wounded pride and more about the woman who had taken her place. Annabelle Okoye. She had watched the press conference footage repeatedly, had seen the way Lee Seo-jun looked at his wife, had seen the quiet dignity with which Annabelle conducted herself. No triumph, no gloating, just love. And Yuna realized something that surprised her. She didn't hate Annabelle. She envied her. 1 week after the scandal broke, Yuna made a decision. She requested a private meeting with Annabelle. They met at a quiet tea house in Gangnam. Annabelle arrived uncertain, guarded. Yuna arrived determined. Thank you for coming, Yuna said, bowing slightly. I know this must seem strange. It does. I wanted to apologize. The words came quickly, as if she had rehearsed them. I allowed myself to be used by Madam Han. I knew the situation was suspicious. No engagement announcement without the groom's public consent, but I wanted so badly to be chosen that I ignored the warning signs. Annabelle studied her carefully. Why are you telling me this? Because I've spent my entire life being what others wanted me to be. The perfect daughter. The perfect bride candidate. The perfect ornament. Yuna's voice trembled slightly. And I'm tired. Tired of being a pawn in other people's games. She reached into her purse, produced a small envelope. Director Kang approached my father 6 months ago, she said. He proposed an alliance, Han Corporation's enemies partnering with Park Shipping to destroy Seo-jun's empire. My father refused, but I kept records of the meetings. Dates, times, participants. She slid the envelope across the table. I don't know if this helps, but it's something. Annabelle took the envelope slowly. Why would you help him? After everything? Yuna smiled sadly. Because watching him look at you taught me what love is supposed to look like. And I want to find that for myself someday. She rose to leave. If that means helping the man who humiliated me, so be it. Perhaps karma rewards integrity. She bowed once more and walked away. That evening, Annabelle presented the envelope to Seo-jun. He reviewed its contents in silence. His expression shifted. Surprise, calculation, something almost like hope. This is evidence of a conspiracy, he said quietly. Director Kang, the Chen family, 2 European hedge funds, all coordinating against me. Can you use it? I can use it to destroy them completely. He looked up at her. Where did you get this? Yuna Park. His eyebrows rose. She came to me, Annabelle continued. Apologized. Said she wanted to stop being a pawn. Seo-jun was quiet for a long moment. I misjudged her. We both did. The following week, Madam had arrived at the penthouse for the third time. But this visit was different. She brought no demands, no manipulations, only a small box wrapped in silk cloth. What is this? Seo-jun asked suspiciously. A gift. For your wife. Annabelle looked at the box uncertainly. May I? Madam Han asked, gesturing toward her. After a moment's hesitation, Annabelle nodded. Madam Han approached slowly. Her hands, usually so steady, trembled slightly as she unwrapped the silk. Inside was a jade bracelet. Ancient, exquisite, clearly a family heirloom. This belonged to my mother, Madam Han said quietly, and her mother before her. It has been passed down through 7 generations of Han women. She held it out to Annabelle. It belongs to you now. Annabelle stayed at the bracelet, then at Madam Han. I don't understand. Neither do I. Not completely. The older woman's voice cracked slightly. I have spent 3 years trying to destroy what my son loves most, and all I accomplished was nearly destroying him. She took a shaky breath. I watched the press conference. I saw how he looked at you, and I realized I have never seen him look at anyone that way. Not even me. His own mother. Tears glistened in her eyes. Tears Annabelle had never expected to see. I was jealous, Madam Han admitted. Jealous of your place in his heart. Jealous of your freedom, your independence, your ability to love without calculation. She shook her head. I told myself I was protecting the family legacy, but I was really just afraid of being replaced. Annabelle's own eyes grew moist. You could never be replaced. You're his mother. But I almost lost him anyway. Madam Han finally met her eyes directly. I was wrong. About you. About everything. And I am sorry. The words hung in the air. Fragile. Unprecedented. Annabelle looked at Seo-jun. He gave a small, almost imperceptible nod. She turned back to Madam Han. I accept your apology, she said softly. And the bracelet. But trust will take time. I understand. Madam Han bowed her head. I will earn it, however long it takes. While the family slowly mended, Seo-jun's people continued tracking Director Kang. The trail led from Singapore to Bangkok, from Bangkok to Dubai, from Dubai to Lagos, where Kang apparently believed he could hide among the chaos of West Africa's largest city. He underestimated Lee Seo-jun's reach. 3 weeks after the betrayal, Park Ji-hoon called with news. We found him, sir. A hotel in Victoria Island. He's been meeting with Chin family representatives, trying to negotiate his extraction to Hong Kong. Don't let him leave. Understood. Should we bring him to Seoul? Seo-jun considered, then made a decision that surprised everyone. No, I'll go to Lagos myself. Annabelle insisted on coming with him. This is my city, she reminded him. My contacts. My territory. If you're going to confront him there, I should be beside you. He wanted to refuse, to protect her from the darker aspects of his world. But he looked at her steady eyes, her lifted chin, her unshakable resolve, and he remembered his own words. Together, always together. Fine, but you stay behind me when we confront him. Agreed. The flight to Lagos took 12 hours. They landed at Murtala Muhammad International Airport as the sun rose over the city. Annabelle's brother Emiko was waiting. Sister. He embraced her tightly. I didn't expect to see you back so soon. Neither did I. She pulled back to study his face. You look tired. I've been coordinating with your husband's people. Emika glanced at Seo-jun with newfound respect. He's very thorough. I try. Seo-jun shook his hand firmly. Thank you for your assistance. Thank me when this is over. The confrontation happened at midnight. Director Kang's hotel was surrounded. Every exit blocked. Every escape route sealed. Seo-jun walked through the lobby alone, his security team invisible but present. His bloodline tattoo was visible at his neck, a deliberate message to anyone watching. He was not a businessman tonight. He was something far more dangerous. Director Kang was sitting in his suite when the door opened. He looked up, face pale. Seo-jun. Chairman Lee. The correction was soft but cutting. We're not friends anymore, Director. Kang rose slowly. His hands trembled. I can explain. You can't. There's nothing you can say that would justify 15 years of loyalty thrown away for Chen family money. Seo-jun stepped closer. But I'm not here for explanations. I'm here for answers. What answers? Who else is involved? Every name, every account, every meeting. If I tell you, the Chens will kill me. If you don't tell me, I'll kill you. Seo-jun's voice didn't waver. And unlike the Chens, I'm standing right in front of you. Kang talked. For 3 hours, he talked. He revealed the full scope of the conspiracy. 17 people across 4 countries, coordinated attacks on Han Corporation assets, planned assassination attempts that had been abandoned when they seemed too risky. He revealed that Madame Han had been approached years ago to join the conspiracy. She had refused. That, at least, was something. When Kang finished speaking, Seo-jun stood silently for a long moment. What happens to me now? Kang asked desperately. You'll be turned over to Korean authorities. The evidence you just provided will convict you of corporate espionage, fraud, and conspiracy. You'll spend the rest of your life in prison. And if I run? Seo-jun smiled. It was not a pleasant expression. My people are very good at finding those who run. And the second time, I won't be so merciful. With Kang in custody, Annabelle found herself unexpectedly home. Lagos spread before her like an old friend, chaotic, colorful, alive. She had missed it more than she realized. Seo-jun watched her carefully. You're happy here, he observed. I'm happy wherever you are. She paused. But yes, this city is part of me. Then perhaps we should stay. For a while. She turned to look at him, surprised. You would do that? Leave Seoul? My business can be managed remotely. The immediate crisis is contained. And he hesitated. I've been thinking about what you said. About disappearing. About losing yourself in my world. His hand found hers. I don't want you to disappear, Anna. I want you to flourish. If that means building our life here instead of Seoul, then that's what we'll do. Her eyes filled with tears. You would give up everything for me. I would give up anything except you. He pulled her closer. The rest is just details. They stayed in Lagos for 2 months. Seo-jun worked remotely, managing his empire through video calls and encrypted communications. Annabelle reconnected with her father, her brother, her old friends. She started designing again. A community center in Lekki, a memorial garden in Ikeja, a cultural museum in Badagry. Her creativity, suppressed for so long, came flooding back. And Seo-jun watched her blossom with something close to awe. One evening, they stood on the balcony of her family's estate, watching the sun set over Lagos. My father wants to meet you properly, she said. Not as a business associate. As family. Seo-jun nodded slowly. I would be honored. He's traditional. He'll probably interrogate you for hours. I've faced hostile takeovers, assassination attempts, and my own mother's manipulations. I think I can handle one Nigerian father. Annabelle laughed. It was the most beautiful sound he had ever heard. The meeting happened the following Sunday. Chief Okoye received Seo-jun in his private study, a room filled with African art, family photographs, and books in 5 languages. So, the older man said, settling into his chair, you are the one who married my daughter in secret. Yes, sir. And you allowed your mother to drive her away. That was my failure, one I intend to never repeat. Chief Okoye studied him carefully. You are aware that in Igbo culture, marriage is not between 2 individuals. It is between 2 families. I am aware. And yet you excluded us entirely from the process. That was wrong. I see that now. Seo-jun met the older man's eyes directly. I would like to correct it. If you'll allow me. Chief Okoye's eyebrows rose. Correct it how? I would like to pay the proper bride price. Perform the traditional ceremonies. Receive your blessing publicly before both our families. A long silence. Then Chief Okoye smiled. Perhaps I was wrong about you, Lee Seo-jun. He rose and extended his hand. Welcome to the Okoye family. Properly, this time. The ceremony took place 6 weeks later. It was held at the Okoye family compound in their ancestral village, a sprawling estate surrounded by palm trees and red earth. 300 guests attended. This time, they came from both worlds. Korean business associates, Nigerian relatives, friends from across continents. Seo-jun wore traditional Igbo attire, white linen embroidered with gold thread. His bloodline tattoo visible at his wrist, merging Korean power with African celebration. He knelt before Chief Okoye and presented the bride price, symbolic gifts representing his commitment to their daughter. Palm wine, cola nuts, yards of fabric, and a check for an amount that made even the elders gasp. "This is excessive," Chief Okoye murmured. "This is how much she's worth to me," Seo-jun replied quietly. "And this is only the beginning." Annabelle appeared in full traditional regalia. Her dress was a masterpiece of Nigerian design, layers of coral and gold, intricate beadwork, her mother's earrings gleaming at her ears. She was radiant, powerful, undeniably herself. When Seo-jun saw her, his carefully maintained composure cracked. His eyes grew bright. His throat worked silently. "Breathe," Emeka whispered beside him, grinning. "I'm trying." The ceremony followed Igbo traditions. Annabelle's mother's sisters presented her to Seo-jun. He took her hand, made his vows before both families. Chief Okoye blessed their union with ancient prayers. And when it was finished, when the cola nut was shared and the palm wine was poured, the celebration exploded into joyful chaos. Drums pounded, dancers performed, guests showered the couple with money and blessings. That night, after the guests had departed, after the music had faded, after the stars had filled the Nigerian sky, Seo-jun and Annabelle stood alone in the garden. "Thank you," she whispered. "For what?" "For this. For understanding what it meant to me. For becoming part of my world instead of just pulling me into yours." He turned to face her. His hands cupped her face with devastating tenderness. "Your world is my world now. Your family is my family. Your joy is my purpose." He pressed his forehead to hers. "I will spend every day of our lives proving that I deserve you. You already do." Their lips met, soft at first, then deeper. The world fell away, and the scene faded to black. When they returned to Seoul, everything had changed. Director Kang's confession had dismantled the conspiracy against Seo-jun. The Chen family's operations were under investigation by 3 governments. Han Corporation's stock prices had recovered, and then exceeded their previous heights. And Madame Han was waiting at the airport to greet them. She bowed deeply as they approached. "Welcome home," she said quietly. "Both of you." Annabelle studied her mother-in-law's face, saw the exhaustion, the humility, the genuine effort to change. "Thank you," she replied simply. It wasn't forgiveness. Not yet, but it was a beginning. 1 month later, Madame Han hosted a formal dinner at the Han family estate. The same courtyard where Annabelle had stood alone. The same guests who had whispered about her. The same world that had tried to reject her. But this time, everything was different. Madame Han stood before the assembled guests. Her voice carried across the courtyard with practiced authority. "Distinguished guests, I have an announcement to make." The crowd fell silent. For too long, I allowed pride and prejudice to blind me to what truly matters. I caused harm to people I should have protected. I nearly destroyed my own family in the name of preserving it. She turned to face Annabelle directly. "But today, I correct those mistakes. Before all of you, before the families who have known the Hands for generations, I formally acknowledge Annabelle Okoye Lee as my daughter-in-law, as a member of this family, as the woman my son chose, and the woman I should have welcomed from the beginning." Gasps rippled through the crowd. Madame Han walked to Annabelle, took her hands, bowed. "Forgive me," she whispered. "Please, forgive me." Annabelle's eyes filled with tears. She looked at Seo-jun, standing nearby. His expression was unreadable, but his eyes held hope. She turned back to Madame Han. "I forgive you." The older woman's composure finally broke. Tears streamed down her face. She embraced Annabelle, stiffly at first, then with growing warmth. And the courtyard erupted in applause. That evening, after the guests had departed, Seo-jun and Annabelle walked through the estate's garden. The same garden where they had first met, years ago, at a business function Annabelle barely remembered. Do you remember that night? He asked quietly. Vaguely. You ignored me for most of the evening. I was trying not to stay. He smiled slightly. You were wearing a green dress. Your hair was different then, and you laughed at something my cousin said. And I thought, what? I thought, I want to make her laugh like that. Every day, for the rest of my life. Annabelle stopped walking, turned to face him. You never told me that. I've never told you many things. I'm not good at, he gestured vaguely. Words, feelings, being human. You're better than you think. I'm trying to be. He took her hands in his. Anna, I want to make you another promise. Hey, where it began. What promise? That I will never let silence come between us again. That I will fight for you, openly, publicly, without hesitation, for the rest of our lives. That you will never have to doubt whether you belong, because I will remind you every single day. His thumbs traced circles on her palms. You are my wife, my partner, my home, and I will love you until my last breath and beyond. Tears slipped down her cheeks. I love you too, she whispered. More than I ever thought possible. He pulled her into his arms, held her like she was the most precious thing in the world. Because to him, she was. The Han family estate. Once a place of cold tradition and rigid hierarchy, it had transformed. African art hung alongside Korean scrolls. Nigerian music played at family gatherings. The kitchen served jollof rice alongside kimchi. Two worlds finally merged. Annabelle stood in the garden, watching the sunset. Her hand rested on her growing belly, 5 months along, the first grandchild of both the Okoye and Han families. Seo-jun appeared beside her, his arm wrapped around her waist, his lips pressed against her temple. Happy, he murmured, more than I ever imagined. Good. His hand covered hers on her belly. Because this is only the beginning. Madame Han watched them from the window. She had changed. Slowly, painfully, genuinely. She had learned to love the woman her son chose. She had learned to embrace a culture she once dismissed. She had learned that legacy was not about blood purity or business alliances. It was about love passed down through generations. Her perfect plan had indeed backfired. But the result was better than anything she could have imagined. In Lagos, Chief Okoye displayed photographs proudly. His daughter with her Korean husband. Ultrasound images of his first grandchild. Pictures from the traditional wedding that still made guests gasp at their beauty. She is happy, he told visitors. Truly happy. What more could a father want? In Seoul, the tabloids eventually lost interest. The scandal faded. The conspiracy was forgotten. What remained was simpler, quieter, more profound. A man who had chosen love over power. A woman who had chosen herself and been loved for exactly who she was. A family that had learned, painfully, to grow beyond its own prejudices. And on quiet evenings, when the world was still and the city lights sparkled below their penthouse windows, Seo-jun would hold Annabelle close and whisper the same words. Thank you for staying. And she would whisper back. Thank you for fighting. And they would remain there, together, as they had always been meant to be. Two souls from different worlds. One love story that refused to be silenced. One future built on courage, forgiveness, and the revolutionary act of choosing each other, again and again, no matter what. Thank you for watching this unforgettable Afro-Korean romance. If this story touched your heart, please leave a comment telling us your favorite moment. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more emotional dramas that celebrate love across cultures. Where are you watching from? We'd love to know. Drop your location in the comments and join our global family of romance lovers. Until next time, remember, love always finds a way.